weekly clergy roundtable. And as always, I'm excited to have this opportunity to speak into your life and to engage you in the conversation that is tackled and selected by the members of our roundtable. I do have a full panel that is prepared to participate today, and so let me pause ever so briefly and invite them to come and say hello. Let's start with the fresh voice and face of Westchester County. Good morning, Pastor.
Good morning, Bishop Lewter, and good morning to my colleagues today and to all of you who are with us via social media. My name is Pastor Norman Scott, New Hope Institutional Baptist Church, Tarrytown, New York, in the county of Westchester. It is great to be here on today.
God bless you, sir. God bless you. Thank you for being here. From there, representing the east end of Long Island, good morning, Overseer.
Good morning, everyone. God bless you. Beautiful sunny day out here. Thank God, no rain. I am glad to be here. I'm Overseer Diane Seaman, pastor of Good Samaritan Ministries in Port Jefferson and Center Reach. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Overseer. And from there, we're going to go to the sunny hills of North Carolina. Good morning, Brother President.
Good morning, all. My name is Reverend Ronald Grant, retired pastor from Hudson, New York, Shiloh Baptist, and down in Rocky Mount. I'm just always tickled brown to be a part of this panel and to receive updates and highlights from my colleagues. God bless you. It's good to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And from there, we're going to shuffle off to Buffalo. God bless you, sir.
God bless you, Bishop. Grace and peace. Good to see the gang all here and together after post-Pentecost. And blessings be unto you all. I am Bishop Jeffrey Bowens, pastor of the Love Alive. I got my hat on to remind me who I'm supposed to be. And we are here in Buffalo, New York at the Love Alive Fellowship Full Gospel Baptist Church. It's good to see each one of you.
God bless you, sir. Happy to have you as always. How about Iowa? Waterloo, Iowa. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Bishop, and all my colleagues. I'm glad to be here this morning. I bring you greetings from Koinonia Ministry, Full Gospel Baptist Church, where we're people connected to God and people connected to each other. And I am Bishop Helen Singster.
And we're happy to have you, Bishop. Thank you so very, very much for being here. And now, my colleague and friend representing Central Long Island. Good morning, Overseer.
Good morning, everyone. Fresh off the plane this morning from Singapore and Bali. I'm Overseer Regina Ravenel Carr, the Senior Pastor of Christian Uprise through Edification Discipleship Ministry. And my husband pushed me on this morning. He's like, "Don't you have the round table this morning?" I was like, "Oh." Well, here I am. Amen.
Good morning. And we are certainly delighted to have you. Rounding out the roundtable today is the official representative of the Greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Good morning, Doctor.
Morning, Bishop. Hey, y'all. Hey. Good to see you back, my sister. I'm Dr.
Bless you. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Stratford. I am honored and blessed to be the lead servant of Ecclesia International, and we are headquartered right outside of the nation's capital in Gambrills, Maryland.
And again, friends, I am Andy C. Lewter of the Hollywood Full Gospel Baptist Cathedral of Amityville, New York, and the Queen's Ministry of New York City. Delighted indeed to have this opportunity and this occasion to greet each and every one of you. Perhaps you have noticed that since the outset of our roundtable today, I have disappeared off screen and returned with a cap that represents this past weekend for me. This past weekend, well, let me start by saying I have not been referred to and or called Bishop since Thursday of last week because I had been attending the 50th year college reunion at Oberlin College all weekend long. And I'm actually going to do this. Where is it? I wanted to share with you all yes, I wanted to share with you all. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
So I was a part of a gallery of speakers who populated and punctuated this past weekend at Oberlin College. I graduated in 1976, and of course, this is what I look like after 50 years, and this is what my classmates look like after 50 years. And I'm going to scroll down just a little bit because in addition to these speakers that I shared the stage with 50 years ago, our class was the first class to inaugurate what was called the Black graduation ceremony. There were 66 of us. When I say us, you know what I'm talking about. 66 people who look like you and I that graduated in 1976. And on the day before the actual official commencement, we held our own separate graduation where we awarded diplomas, watch this, not to ourselves, but to our parents who had supported us the previous 4 years and made it possible for us to graduate the following day. I actually happened to be the first commencement speaker at that Black graduation ceremony 50 years ago. And so I was so excited to see that what we started 50 years ago continues to take place even today. And what is on the screen now is actually the current picture of the Black graduation ceremony that we started 50 years ago. And at this ceremony, the Black students are awarded their kente cloth that they will wear the next day at the actual commencement exercise. And so I was delighted to be present for that. Of course, this was some of the signage that was there. But what I wanted to show you, my full gospel colleagues will remember Eugene Ward, who's in Cleveland. Cleveland is only 15 miles away from Oberlin, so he came over and spent a little time with me. But here are the surviving classmates of mine from 50 years ago. None of us look like we looked 50 years ago. And I stood there saying to myself, I'm wondering if I look to them the way they look to me. And so all of them back in 1976, 72 to 76, I did not use my first name, Andy. I was known as Cleo. And so since Thursday of last week, I have been called Cleo. And no one has referred to me as Bishop. And I teasingly told them that I insist that my current congregations refer to me as Bishop and not Cleo. And when they ask me why, I say, because that character Cleo never could have been your pastor. So these are the people who are astounded and shocked to know that I am serving as a pastor and a bishop in the Lord's Church after 4 years of rascality on the campus of Oberlin College. And so I wanted to share that with you as a prelude to what I actually want to talk about today, and that is several of those classmates that you saw pictured a moment ago have gone on to have, actually most of them have gone on to have stellar careers as attorneys. Oberlin produced a large number of Black attorneys in this country. And as we reminisced and reflected, this was our 50th year watch this, 50th year class reunion. And the vast majority of those classmates who you saw, Brother President, either have retired or are recently retired. And so a good deal of our conversation had to do with what are we doing now? How are we spending our time? How are we adjusting to the reality of retirement? And I found it both awkward and just slightly strange to hear my colleagues and classmates from the legal profession say to me and to others that the major adjustment that they have is that they cannot imagine or picture a time where they would not be doing what they're doing as an attorney, that their identity is so wrapped up in their legal identity and their tag as an attorney until there is resistance to retiring because they don't know who they are independent of being an attorney. And of course, I internalize that because I come from a generation that is just beyond the generation of my father, where the belief, and I want you all to kind of weigh in on this, those of us in ministry have been told. Now, I'm not sure that my generation and the generation after me will exercise this, but we were kind of led to believe that we were supposed to die in the pulpit and that we did not have the option of retiring from ministry because it was not a hiring process. You retire from what you're hired to, but because we were called, it was a permanent and a lifelong assignment. Now, I'm probably one of those in this current generation that believes and is looking forward to doing something after retiring from the active pastoral ministry. And so I have decided I'm not going to die in the pulpit, and I am not going to do this for the rest of my life. But that is a slightly different attitude than the way we grew up and what our models and our mentors have shown us over the years. And so I wanted to take time, and I know this is the Tuesday after the fourth Sunday. So as you know, I do have a Bishop's Council meeting at 10 o'clock that I need to be available for, but I wanted to use this time to kind of look at our role in ministry through the lens of retirement, reflecting upon what these members of the legal profession have said to me and how similar and somewhat parallel that is to the craft and the vocation of ministry. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. Are we able, watch this, beloved, are we able to see ourselves independent of the tag and label of ministry that we have assumed for so very, very long? And I'm actually going to invite President Grant to at least take the first step. And I know, Dr. Strafford, you typically, and our tradition is that you usually start off our commentary, but I'd like to start with President Grant because of those of us who are on the panel, he is actively retired. Now, I am in process and transition, but I believe everyone else on the panel is still shy of retirement. So I'm going to invite Pastor Grant to weigh in on this first, and then everyone else to weigh in as well. Pastor Grant, how much of a challenge was it for you to go from pastoring two congregations there in New York, serving as the moderator of your local Central Hudson Baptist Association, moving on to the presidency of Empire? How much of a challenge was that for you to transition out of those roles of professional ministry into the current role of retired clergy?
Well, thank you, Bishop. And listening to you introduce the subject, what jumped out in terms of retirement, you have retirement from pastoral responsibilities or retirement from ministry, preaching. So that's two distinct things that I've found. We really can. So in my case, in many cases of colleagues, throughout the tenure of our pastoring, we also might have had simultaneous career paths, such as my case, law enforcement, uh, chaplain in the New York State Police for 22 years. At one point, I'm the former police commissioner, also the city of Hudson, chaplain of the two different county uh, sheriff departments, in addition to pastoring. So when it came time for me to make a decision, uh, I had slowly bowed out of the law enforcement through tenure. And as former president, I was still very busy. And I decided that I needed to step back, but I couldn't step back in my same locale, in my case, because of my involvement, my extensive commitments to different functions, and the fact that people knew me. It made it very difficult. So that's how I chose North Carolina. I should say I chose away from New York and ended in North Carolina. And I came here actually with the purpose of retiring and sitting back and enjoying and staying away from, of course, the pastor I'm no longer doing. And I'm even moved away so that the people would appreciate and adjust to my successor. And as long as I was even there, it made it difficult. And and he was the successor by my recommendation and certainly God's anointing. So I did not want to in any way conflict with this growing to know the congregation. So I sort of had to distance myself from many things. Now I found out when I came down here, I came down under the auspices of incognito. I just came and did say I would visit the church, the wife and I, and we stand up. I'm Ron Grant, this is Valerie, and boom, boom, boom. Uh, I did that several times. The church down the street from me, we just talked about that yesterday too. The deacon for the church, he came out on after one of our visitations. He ran down the parking lot. Said, "Excuse me, excuse me." He said, "Sir, are you a preacher?" I said, "Well, yes." He said, "And you're a musician?" I said, well, "Yeah, I bang a little bit." Um, he said, "And you're the former president of New York Convention?" I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "We Googled you."
Yeah.
So I found that you couldn't run away. And meanwhile, one of Pastor Lewter's successors from Austin, Dr. Sherman Tribble, who was then working, I believe, as the office of a vice president of the Apex College, he put a blast out to all the colleagues introducing me. And said I'm a good person to know. Listed my accolades. He said, "Give him a call. He's on this thread." So I hit him back on the thread. I said, "Well, bless you, Dr. Tribble, so much for incognito." But in getting back to and concluding, it's difficult. It's easy, of course, to retire from pastoring if you know that's a responsibility that you once you negate it and somebody else has it, and to keep your hands out of it. That's where the difficulty could come. All right. But from preaching, in my case, also playing. So since I've been down there, I've been doing much more playing than preaching. I just recently cut my ties from because I started up a workshop, that's all it kind of took. Once people, see your skills, they want you to do more. And I ended up playing one place for over 3 years. So I said, no, enough of that. So I backed off. And this is my last Sunday was actually a month ago in one of the churches after 3 years. And then I started playing for a upscale steakhouse. He wanted to have a Sunday brunch. He asked me, could I be the live music for that? I said, well, okay, not a problem. How often? He said, every Sunday. Whoa, whoa. No. I said, I can't do it every Sunday, at least not from those hours. So I ended up doing that for a while. I had to step back. So now, as I conclude, I'm retired. I have no responsibilities. And it's a beautiful thing, but I do miss preaching. I find myself whenever I'm talking to someone, a sermon or outline is going to come out. I said, that'll preach, or this did preach. So some things just kind of hard to drop. All right, I will share that with you as you plan to step away. You can never really totally, as long as your health allows, step away because it's in us. All right, not necessarily the pastoring part, but the preaching part. And when I go different places, I support. And my thing has always been, and I tell them down here, you do not have to be on program to support a program.
Mhm.
I think I'll leave that with you. Once we step back, you don't have to be on, even now, you don't have to be on a program to support a program. So my presence has been felt in this area quite extensively for that same reason. When I hear something's going on, I'll go and during a week of revival, whatever it is, just to be supportive. And then I need to be preached to also. So that's my story, and I'm not going to change it.
Thank you for that, Brother President. And I certainly appreciate your perspective, and I share that to a great deal. As many of you know, I am in the process of transitioning my church and ministry, and I have a young, dynamic protege who comes in on the second and fourth Sunday. I'm actually repeating a paradigm that was used by my father and I for 5 years, 2001 to 2006, where he would preach on the first and third Sundays, and I would preach on the second and fourth Sundays. I did not know at that time, nor did I anticipate at that time, that the time would come when I would be in the same scenario and situation, but this time I'm my father, and this young protege is who I am. But to your point, Brother President, on those Sundays, the second and fourth Sunday, I, like yourself, have chosen to be absent and to be invisible because I did not want people listening to him in the pulpit and watching me, my body language, facial expressions, and trying to examine whether or not I was in support or in agreement with what he was saying and or doing. And so I make it a point to disappear and not even be in Amityville, not even be on Long Island, not even be in New York on the Sundays that he's preaching, so that he has total access to the congregation. And I am not inviting comparisons between what he is doing and what I have done over the last 25 years. I am hopeful that this is a topic that the remaining members of our panel and roundtable are excited and enthusiastic about discussing. And so now, Dr. Stratford, we will return to our tradition of having you initiate our commentary on our tackled topic.
Thank you, Bishop. Never a problem. I play well with everybody. My personal perspective is pretty much what Reverend Grant has said. Ministry is who I am. So I am quite aware of the oncoming shift. It has already started. My plans are to move away from the senior pastor role, and I've developed a network of churches that's rapidly growing, which puts me in a position to do what I love, and that is to share wisdom and my experiences and knowledge with senior leaders. That way, I'm still working, doing what I love, but without the restraint and the pressure, the expectations, and the annoyances that come with being a lead pastor, giving me freedom and flexibility to enjoy the richness of a senior life. And I'm excited about that. I do think that we have been taught from our predecessors of old that viable, legitimate ministry is, or the ultimate is the pastor. And so I think that's why sometimes we struggle with it in our community, and feel as though we need to go down with the ship and, stay in one place forever. But it's seasons, and I'm looking forward to being able, I would say by 90, up under a coconut tree, you know, just enjoying life and relaxing, but still doing ministry wherever I am.
Great, great. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Who wants to go next? I'm looking at the facial expression of Bishop Singster. She seems to be biting at the bullet, and I don't necessarily want to call upon her, but Bishop, your perspective?
Okay. I ditto everything I've heard. I have really tried to transition before now, and it seems like when I try, that's when the people kind of hold on a little tighter. And but I think my retirement is more what I was called for in the beginning, and I went on and did other things. But I have a desire to still stay in ministry and as the school of the prophets, and I plan on doing that. But it seems like the closer I get to retirement, that it's hard to do. But I had other things that, the restaurant, and I had entrepreneur. I had so much things I was doing, and being being very active in the political scene, and and it seems like you still do it, but you do it on a smaller scale, and you try to back off from some of those things. And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if it will be within the next 5 years or what, but I really plan on having the School of Prophets in place. And I do work with Bishop Jeffrey Bowens on my uh, Ecclesiastes assignment, but I don't know what I'm going to do. And that's where I'm at.
Overseer Seaman, I have two aunts, my father's older sister and younger sister, both of whom came into the pastorate late in life. And so any discussion about retirement was always met by them as, well, I just got here. And, the others of you have been doing this for 30 and 40 and almost 50 years, but I just got in, and so there was a bit of a restraint and perhaps even resistance to retirement because of how late in life they entered the pastorate. I am not calling you old, but I do know that you have a similar experience of having gone into the pastorate later on in life. And so give us your perspective through the lens of someone who got in later rather than sooner in their career.
I'm grateful to know your sisters. And actually, we have
My aunts.
your aunts. I'm so sorry. And we have actually had that discussion. And was laughing. And she explained to me the same thing that you said, because I was asking her, do you really think I should do this nonsense? Because I'm tired of people. Because I've spent all those years training to be first a nurse, working in the hospitals, and then as a clinical social worker with a private practice. I retired from my job in social services department administration to work for myself. And I set up my business, my private practice, to work for myself. And then I got called into ministry, and I asked God if he knew what he was doing and did he know how old I was, but he didn't answer me. So I just went on. And it was different. And my church is not even called church, it's ministries, because that's what I do. It's more, it's rewarding. It's something that I do lifelong. Some days I have a congregation, some days I don't. But pouring into them, dealing with the stuff that I've been trained to do is absolutely delightful. And it's not large. I don't want it large. God doesn't want it large. He set me up just the way he wanted me to be set up. That's why it's Good Samaritan Ministries. We do a lot, as you know, but when it's over, it's over. But I have an exit plan. I have someone in place. I did that 2 years ago. Um, all my stuff is set up. So when God gets ready to leave, and I'm looking, anybody know anybody that's I am looking for help because there's some more things that God has given me to do, but it's not in building the traditional church. It's building ministry outside of the church. So collectively, we can come together. We don't need any more churches, in my view. We need productivity within the churches. We need collaborative performance within the churches. We need pastors and people that are willing to work in the church without expecting a reward to come together to do something positive in the kingdom of God more so. That it's not just Sunday. I have church on Tuesday because it's not just Sunday. Sundays, I network. Sundays, I'm out finding out what needs to be done, what's out there, what people need to do, and how I can better fit into that. And that's something that in itself is a lifetime project. It's not necessarily pastoring. Pastoring, when God finds me somebody else, like I said, everything else I put in place, I believe in preparation. So I have my exit plan. Is all the paperwork is dotted, the I's are dotted, and the T's are crossed. So it's just a matter of living it out. Um, I think, I really think that a lot of pastors who are older, whether they got there late or not, in your case, your family is ministry for the most part. So once you get a hold of that vision and you carry it, it's like getting a good steak. You don't want to let it go. And you want to do everything that you can do. And I get it. But for some other people, I believe that it's hard to trust people with people that you know all about. It's like giving somebody my child. And that's hard. But we have to train our children to be able, as I've told several parents, you have to train your child to be obedient to anyone that takes care of them, to anyone that looks after them, to listen to what's being said. And I think that part, that if the word is being preached, if it's going forth, it's a little bit easier if you know that the people that you're having in place, if you're able to select them, that they're able, yeah, to teach and to guide the people that you poured into, rightly so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
know. Yeah, I'm particular about mine because I have a handicapped congregation and I love them, but they can ask some questions that will challenge anybody. And I have my druthers as to who I'd want to put them in, but the fellowship that I'm basically in, the first one that I'm with, has people that understand their needs and will understand and will take care of them. So
Got it.
it's more relaxing. But
Good.
I believe that when it's time to let go, it's like anything else. You have to build. Let me put it this way. When you're 20 and 15 and 25, you can run a mile. By the time you get 30, you may be able to run a half a mile. By the time you're 60, you know good and well you cannot even run a quarter of a mile most of the time. It's in steps. You have to understand the step you're in and go with the flow. I don't
Yeah.
expect to run a mile. You know, we got to know where you go.
Good. That's good. That's good. Overseer Carr, Bishop Bowens, Pastor Scott, I'm going to ask you all to weigh in. And who would like to go first amongst the three final participants we have?
I'll
Go
go
ahead, Bishop.
first, Bishop.
Sure.
I am enjoying this conversation, and I thank each of you for your points that you have made. I was thinking along the lines of the, our forefathers and the patriarchs and those who have come before us. I believe that they didn't have as many options as we have today.
Mm,
They didn't have a lot of other things. That's all they knew was preaching or teaching and ministering
Mhm.
unto the people of God. And that was their life resource. That was their lifeline. That what gave them hope. That what gave them drive, passion, zeal. And so I'm thinking, making a contrast and a comparison to our time now. We have a lot more options, depending, of course, where the Lord leads us or where he directs us. But one of the things that I find about ministry is that it gives you such self-worth. It gives you such dignity and value. It leaves such an impression. I don't know what I would be if I wasn't called into the ministry. I just don't know. And so for me, it provided me some validation, self-worth, made me feel that I was uh, uh, important, or made me feel that I had something to give and to share. And so I understand why it's difficult to detach yourself from ministry. It's really, really challenging. But we have multiple options now. Whether I want to think about it or not, it's just the reality of the situation, that I have to consider having a contingency plan, a backup system for the ministry to continue. I was with Bishop Lewter on his 72nd birthday celebration at his church, and about a good 20 young people came to the altar, and it brought so much life to Bishop. He was just overwhelmed. He said, I appreciate all the gifts, all the words, and especially the money. But to see these souls come to the altar left an impression that cannot be erased. And I think that what gives us life to want to go on. But as I look in perspective on this subject, certainly we have Dr. Stratford here. And I know I'm supposed to be an author by now, supposed to be writing something. so, so she's available for us to continue to share our thoughts in print. So I think that is important. I have fellowship with Bishop Singster and many others, pastors, and they're asking me at my age where I'm at to be a fellowship. Mm-hmm. That is consequential. That's important. I'm doing that. And then attached to Bishop Lewter, I am doing the Eagle Institute School of Theology. And that is just, the people around here is just on fire for it. But I was walking with my wife the other day. We were driving home, rather. And while we were driving, she looked at me and she said, I ain't going to be doing this for the rest of my life. She said, you got about 5 more years. And we up out of here. So I think it's a very interesting thought of the attorneys that Bishop had mentioned, and of what they're who they are, and who they consider themselves to be. But we in ministry, I think the main thing that we are at is that we become statesmen. We become people that other people can come to glean from, as Bishop Stratford has said. And so we have to begin to prepare ourselves for those kind of adjustments.
Pastor Scott, you repeatedly claim to be the youngest person on the panel. So we're going to save you for last, since you have the longest road ahead of you, and turn to Overseer Carr to provide her an opportunity to weigh in on this topic, and then save you for last. Go ahead, Overseer.
I'm so glad that you let me go before him, because I was sure going to say ladies first. I want to go back to how you started the conversation out, by the way it was of old, what your dad's generation and what we came up under. And I think that to some degree there was a mistake in there, because some pastors stayed in, some stayed in too long, where they should have stepped aside and trained and prepared someone else to take over, and that wasn't done. And so a lot of times we saw the consequence of that. For myself personally, I've already retired. I retired at 61, and I'm very happy about the choice that I made. I mean, from work. And now, even in ministry, my mind is set for a set period of time where I want to step back and I don't have to disappear, but I can let someone else be in charge. So I wrote down the scripture of Ecclesiastes. It says, to everything there is
Mm,
a season, and we have to learn to recognize the seasons that we are in. And the other thing I want to say, and I've heard Dr. Grant make mention of his retirement on numerous occasions. Even with you being retired, I still believe that who you are and who God has created you to be still works.
It does. It
It
does.
still works.
Yeah.
And just because you don't have the capacity or the office to function and to do it, it doesn't say that it's not happening through you, because you're, as they said in a episode of A Different World, you're a voice in this world and you need to be heard. And I know you've been heard down through the years, because I came up under EBA, and I'm pretty sure that I was there in the time that you have served. But I believe in stepping back. It gives us a greater voice, because as somebody said, we become Bishop Bowen said, we become the statesman, we become the resource, we become a point of reference. And
Mhm.
sometimes we have to step back to allow that next generation the opportunity to come through, and let them come through where we're still available and accessible to assist and help. So I believe it's a wise decision to recognize the hour in which we're in, to separate or to just step back. Because sometimes, Bishop Lewter, as you've been saying, God wants to do something different with us. And we're
mm,
so comfortable in doing what we've been doing for so long that we don't want to move. We don't want to change. And now we're going against the grain of God to do what we want versus what God wants to do with us. And I hear the Elizabeth in the room. It's never too late to give birth to something else.
mm.
It's
Wow,
never
that is,
too late to give birth to something else. And that's what I want to be. I want to be able to say, I birthed that. Look at that, it's up and running. And now I'm over here
Yep.
in my golden age and I'm still birthing.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, Overseer. You made mention of something that resonates with me, and I'm going to pass to Scott because he claims to be the baby in the bunch. So he's going to close us out in terms of this topic. But Bishop Bowens mentioned something that really has um, caused me to wonder what God is doing. One of the reasons that I so strongly considered retirement is because of the lack of productivity. 2, maybe 3 years, we had not seen since COVID any kind of numerical growth in terms of new people, in terms of new people. Somebody's talking, I think. In terms of new people joining the church, there's been a drought in our ministry in terms of new people joining the church. And so, I had come to the conclusion, basically via observation, that at 72 years old, I am not going to draw young people, 35 and 40-year old. I have a good friend, C. Dexter Wise, who says all the time, you draw who you are. And so if that paradigm is in place at 72, all I'm going to draw are senior citizens. But since my return from my medical emergency, the first Sunday I was back, 8 people joined the church. The second Sunday, and remember, I'm on this 2 Sunday routine now, so I'm only preaching on the first and third Sunday. But the second time I preach, 5 people joined the church. Third time I preach, 4 people joined the church. When Bishop Bowens visited with us, 20 people joined the church. And so I've nearly had 40 people join the church in the last 30 to 45 days. And I'm saying, now, Lord, wait a minute. I put this plan in place because of what appeared to be a drought. And now there seems to be, maybe that's God's way of saying, I'm going to make sure you go out the way you came in. Because when I came in, there was a surge of membership growth at Hollywood. That was 25 years ago. So, Pastor Scott, as the baby of the bunch, What say ye?
Thank you so much, Bishop. Again, now, yes, I am definitely the baby of this bunch. I just turned 65 in January, and I don't think anybody is my age here. All of y'all are older than I am. All right. Anyway, but here's his point. All that has been said has been wonderful. Um, it was my plan. It was my plan for me to retire or start the retirement process right now while I was at the Rising Star Church in Jamaica. If I had stayed there, I would have been celebrating 20 years at the Rising Star Church in Jamaica. I would have been there 20 years, and I would have started the process of retirement. I had a young man who was there with me, uh, who literally I birthed into ministry. I poured into him. Believe it or not, I still pour into him, even though he's still at Rising Star Church. But it was my plan to retire in the next 5 years from the Rising Star Church. That would have given me 25 years there. But then God does something. The first thing, in August of 2022, I got diagnosed with stage 1 prostate cancer, which I'm happy to report that I'm cancer free. Then while I was in the process of going through the radiation therapy, the Lord said, "You got to go back." And I said, "Go back where? Where am I going back to?" And I knew it wasn't going back to Far Rockaway. I ended up going back to Tarrytown, where I served as with the late Dr. John H. Gilmore. And even while I was with Dr. Gilmore at the time was serving as the pastor of New Hope, but then he was also the interim pastor at the Riverview Church in Kingston. Dr. Grant remembers that. And there were times I would literally drive Dr. Gilmore to Kingston if there was a second service that he needed to be at while he was in Tarrytown. We'd get in the car, ride up there, breaking the speed limit and everything. But my point that I'm trying to make to us is the retirement piece is good. I had my plans, and I don't know why God moved me at the time that He did. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I'm doing well where I'm at. I'm still looking at that retirement piece, though. I'm still looking at it. That might be a little bit later on. It might not be 5 years now. Might be 10. We'll see. Whatever God has in store. If He keeps me where I'm at. But that's the point. I'm praying that the Lord will send me somebody who I can prepare and prep for this time and for this season. But even as He's doing that, God is doing some things with me that I'm just trying to figure out why He's doing. I'm doing it. And Dr. Stratford and Bishop Lewter, both of y'all will be playing an important part in that, because I need to start writing down this stuff, and we need to put it down so it can be passed on. Yeah. And that's where you all come in. Amen.
Yeah. Well, listen, friends, for the last hour, you've been listening and watching the weekly clergy roundtable, and I want to thank Pastor Norman Scott. I want to thank Overseer Seaman and President Grant, Dr. Stratford, Bishop Bowens, Overseer Carr, and Bishop Singster for their input and participation in this particular topic that means so very, very much to so many of us. I pray that it has impacted you as well. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend that on Tuesdays at the 9 o'clock hour, we are here. Until next time, go in peace, go in joy, go in love, and go in happiness. For the author of peace, love, joy, and happiness most certainly goes with you.